We will begin, though, with that breaking news, a really dangerous situation unfolding in Michigan. Major flooding and dam failures leading to the overnight evacuation of thousands of residents. NBC's Tom Costello joins us now with the very latest. Hey, Tom, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. 2 dams have failed, a flash flood emergency across much of the state. In fact, they're talking about some areas under 9 feet of water today. Schools open now for evacuees, and we can tell you dozens of roads across the state are closed.
This is serious, and it is time for people to take action to keep themselves safe.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer overnight declaring a state of emergency after heavy rainfall ruptured 2 dams Tuesday in central Michigan, about 140 miles north of Detroit. Rising waters forcing the evacuation of nearly 10,000 people.
Today, the Edenville and Sanford dams in Midland County breached. If you have a relative or a friend somewhere else in the state that you can go and stay with, please go to their homes. If you don't, go to one of the many shelters that have been set up.
The evacuations following days of heavy rains in parts of the Midwest that also brought flooding to parts of Illinois, Ohio, and other states. Katrina Conley evacuated with her family to a hotel in Bay City, Michigan.
We quickly packed our 2 dogs, a couple changes of clothes, and ourselves. We had to do what we had to do as far as finding a place to stay. Otherwise, we would be sleeping in our vehicles.
The devastating flooding complicated by the coronavirus.
Evacuate the area.
Authorities working to get residents out of harm's way, leaving many heading to emergency shelters to balance their safety with social distancing.
We're still under the stay home, stay safe order, but then it also feels like get out, stay safe. So it's like this weird, really weird conflict. So do the coronavirus rules still apply, or what's the right way to be responding?
This morning, families living along 2 lakes and a river forced to flee from one of the worst flood disasters currently hitting mid-Michigan.
We're going to do the right thing in the midst of a crisis, and we're going to help people get out.
Yeah, real dangerous situation with rising waters. There is good news. They're going to get a bit of a reprieve today because the forecast is for sunny and about 70 degrees today and tomorrow. But then after that, more rain may be coming. Savannah, back to you.
To be going through all of that in the middle of this other crisis with the coronavirus. Tom, thank you very much on that breaking news. And let's turn now to the latest on the virus. All 50 states have now partially reopened, but this morning health officials remain vigilant, looking out for new cases. President Trump, meanwhile, is on defense over the controversial drug he says he is taking as a precaution against the virus. NBC's White House correspondent Kristen Walker joins us now. Kristen, good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning to you. This morning, the president is increasingly defiant about his stated use of the controversial drug hydroxychloroquine. It sparked a backlash and also a bitter back and forth between the president and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, raising the question, can Washington work together in this next phase of the crisis? This morning, the tensions are escalating between President Trump and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi over the president's use of hydroxychloroquine.
Pelosi is a sick woman. She's got a lot of problems, a lot of mental problems.
I didn't know that he would be so sensitive. He's always talking about other people's avoirdupois, their weight, their pounds.
The president firing back at Pelosi after she criticized his decision to take the anti-malaria drug to protect against coronavirus, with no evidence yet that it prevents COVID-19.
I would rather he not be taking something that has not been approved by the scientists, especially in his age group and in his, shall we say, weight group, what is morbidly obese, they say.
Mr. Trump is increasingly on defense about his decision to take the drug, claiming it has been used by workers on the front lines of the pandemic.
Many doctors are in favor of it. Many frontline workers won't go there unless they have the hydroxy.
But the country's largest medical association says it is not aware of any data showing those workers are taking the drug. Former President Joe Biden slamming the president overnight, comparing this to the moment Mr. Trump questioned whether disinfectants could be a treatment, a statement the president later called sarcastic.
It's like saying maybe if you injected Clorox into your blood, it may cure you. Come on, man. What is he doing? What in God's name is he doing?
The FDA has warned against using hydroxychloroquine outside of a hospital setting due to a risk of serious heart problems and in some cases even death. And another study funded by the University of Virginia and the NIH, which uses data from patients at veterans medical centers, found more deaths among those treated with hydroxychloroquine than those treated with standard care. Researchers also reported finding no benefit to its use. The president taking aim.
If you look at the one survey, the only bad survey, they were giving it to people that were in very bad shape. They were very old, almost dead. It was a Trump enemy statement.
Now, as for the president's claim that thousands of frontline workers are taking hydroxychloroquine preventatively, while the nation's largest medical association says it's unaware of data supporting that, overnight the White House pointed to about 12 known trials that are underway to study whether the drug can be effective in preventing the spread in frontline workers. It's worth noting those trials are in their preliminary stages. Meanwhile, Vice President Pence says he is not taking the drug even after his press secretary tested positive for the virus. Pence told Fox News his physician hasn't recommended it, but he wouldn't hesitate to take it if his doctor did. Hoda?
All right, Kristen Welker for us at the White House. Kristen, thank you. Also this morning, we do have new information on that mysterious illness in children linked to the coronavirus with cases on the rise. The CDC held a worldwide call with doctors to address the dangers and what seems to be helping some patients recover. NBC's Kristen Dahlgren is following that story for us. Hey, Kristen, good morning.
Good morning, Hoda. Yeah, a couple of big takeaways from that call. Doctors say that kids showing symptoms of this inflammatory syndrome need to seek help right away, and they likely need to be hospitalized. That's so important, though, because they are seeing success with treating this if it's caught in time.
The CDC call outlined what they've learned about the illness, now found in at least 24 states and 10 countries around the world. According to the briefing, multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children, or MIS-C, is thought to develop about 4 weeks after exposure to COVID-19. Many of those children never showing any symptoms caused directly by the virus. But weeks later, a majority of cases are presenting with a fever and gastrointestinal symptoms, believed to be caused by an abnormal immune response to the virus. 15-year-old Dariana Dyson developed stomach pain and a rash around Mother's Day. She tested positive for COVID antibodies. A few days later, she was dead, now one of 4 children to die here in the U.S.
People need to really understand that this kills people.
In New York City alone, there are now 147 suspected cases.
I think it's going to get much worse before it gets better. I think that's the tip of the iceberg.
But this morning, there is also hope. The CDC says hospitals are having success with some treatments, including immunotherapy and steroids used to calm an overactive immune response. It's what doctors in Louisiana used on 12-year-old Juliette Daly, who went into cardiac arrest before responding to treatment. She's now out of the hospital, and at her latest checkup, showed no signs of permanent heart damage.
How dramatic was Juliette's turnaround?
She came in, really near death. Within a matter of days, we were able to get her off the ventilator, breathing on her own, get her out of the hospital within 10 days.
Her family now hoping Juliette's story can help pave the way for others.
So most children do go home after a short time in the hospital. What they still don't know, though, is which children might be at risk for this. That's why they say it is so important for all doctors and parents to know what to look out for. Back to you.
All right, Kristen, thank you. And now to a bombshell announcement from Johnson & Johnson. After facing thousands of lawsuits questioning its safety, the company now says it will stop selling its talc-based baby powder in North America. NBC's Morgan Radford has more on that. Hi, Morgan. Good morning.
Savannah, good morning. That's right. Johnson & Johnson's baby powder has been used by generations of people, but in recent years, they've come under attack, the target of several lawsuits by customers who believe it gave them cancer.
Overnight, Johnson & Johnson announcing a major change to one of its iconic products.
Pure Johnson's baby powder from Johnson & Johnson. It's a feeling you never outgrow.
The pharmaceutical giant saying it will no longer use talc in its baby powder products sold in the U.S. and Canada. In a statement, the company blaming declining sales fueled by misinformation around the safety of the product and a constant barrage of litigation advertising. According to the American Cancer Society, talc, a mineral known for its softness, can contain asbestos, a substance known to cause cancer. While Johnson & Johnson has long touted the safety of its talc-based products, the company has faced thousands of lawsuits from customers linking them to cancer. Among them, 63-year-old Dean Berg, the first to take on Johnson & Johnson in trial, alleging its talc-based baby powders led her to stage 3 ovarian cancer.
I am 100% certain that it caused my cancer.
In 2013, a federal jury in South Dakota sided with Berg and found Johnson & Johnson negligent but did not award her any damages. In 2018, Reuters published a report saying that from at least 1971 to the early 2000s, the company's raw talc and finished powders sometimes tested positive for small amounts of asbestos. Information Johnson & Johnson reportedly failed to disclose to the public. The company denied the report's allegations, but months later revealed it was at the center of several federal investigations over whether its talcum powders were linked to cancer-causing asbestos. In October, the company voluntarily recalled 33,000 bottles of baby powder in the U.S. after the FDA found trace amount of asbestos in samples from a bottle purchased online. Johnson & Johnson points out in a statement that all verdicts against the company that have been through the appeals process have been overturned, adding that science is on their side, vowing to vigorously defend the safety of their product and the unfounded allegations against it as it starts to wind down production.
This is what I wanted from the very beginning. No further people are going to be exposed to this.
So while that talc-based baby powder will be discontinued here in North America, it will continue to be sold in other parts of the world. Savannah?
All right, Morgan, thank you. This morning, former Today Show anchor Matt Lauer is speaking out about what he calls flawed reporting by Ronan Farrow. Lauer presenting his own fact check on Farrow's book, Catch and Kill, as the best-selling author and former NBC News reporter comes under new scrutiny in a New York Times report this week. Here's NBC's Stephanie Gosk.
Ronan Farrow's book, Catch and Kill, has sold millions. Now, 7 months after its release, one of his targets, former Today Show host Matt Lauer, is firing back, launching an attack on Farrow's reporting in an op-ed published on the website Mediaite. Among Lauer's accusations, Farrow abandoned common sense and true fact-checking in favor of salacious and deeply flawed material. He also says Farrow failed to confirm stories and used misleading language to manipulate readers. Catch and Kill accuses NBC News and NBC Universal of ignoring sexual harassment allegations against prominent men in the company, including Lauer, for years, and of deliberately burying Farrow's story on Harvey Weinstein to protect Lauer. NBC Universal has repeatedly denied both allegations. In Catch and Kill, Brooke Nevels, the woman whose allegations led to Lauer's firing, publicly accused him of raping her at the 2014 Sochi Olympics. Lauer, who says the two had a consensual affair, again vigorously denied the rape allegation. He says Nevels didn't ever use the words assault or rape when she brought her claim to NBC in 2017. Lauer says Farrow took his accusers at their word and says he tracked down 4 people the author never interviewed. Their accounts, according to Lauer, cast doubt on some of the book's claims. In the book, Farrow writes that Nevels informed her former boss at Peacock Productions about Lauer. But Lauer says that supervisor was never contacted by Farrow. And another woman who ran the company at the time told Lauer Nevels in no way conveyed the seriousness of what she now claims. There was never a mention of assault or rape. In a statement to NBC News, Farrow writes, "We called dozens of corroborators around the Lauer allegations described in the book, and more than a dozen around Brooke Nevels specifically." Nevels tweeting her response, an acronym for how abusers sometimes respond to accusations: deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. Lauer says he wanted to publish his article last fall after the book's release, but held it for personal reasons. The former morning show host says a recent article in the New York Times critical of Ronan Farrow's reporting prompted him to release it now. Among the criticisms in the Times article, that Farrow does not always follow the typical journalistic imperatives of corroboration and rigorous disclosure, or he suggests conspiracies that are tantalizing but he cannot prove. In a statement to the Times, Farrow says he brings caution, rigor, and nuance to each of his stories. This morning, the publisher of Catch and Kill is standing by the book, writing in part, his commitment to the rights of victims and his impeccable attention to detail make us proud to be his publisher. NBC News has offered no comment on the Lauer piece. For Lauer's part, he says the examples of shoddy journalism I've explored here are the tip of the iceberg. For today, Stephanie Gosk, New York.
All right, it is now 7:17. We have a lot more to get to. A New Jersey couple was supposed to get married this past weekend, but they had to postpone it. So instead of a celebration of love, they turned it into a show of support for their community. Take a look at this. The couple organized a campaign called "With This Ring, You'll Be Fed." Friends and family, all the people who would have been guests at their wedding, they showed up at the house. They donated non-perishable items that the couple will donate to the New Jersey Food Bank. In all, they collected 600 pounds of food. And by the way, the couple says they're going to reschedule that wedding, and they're doing it in October. So they turned kind of a crummy situation into a pretty fantastic one, Savannah.
You know what I say? That is love.
Yeah,
Hoda, right?
yeah.
Loving your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.